Hello and welcome to and Words Wednesday. My name is Mary Bear Shannon, and I am a reference librarian at the Haverford Township Free Library. So welcome. We have been doing this since the beginning of quarantine. We are sharing poetry and bits of prose with you in this program. I also wanted to wish you all a happy St. Patrick's Day. We're coming to you on March 17th. So this is the St. Patrick's Day edition of Wine and Words Wednesday. So I guess I had encouraged everybody to bring their favorite Irish drink. I have my Irish whiskey, so I guess we could call this Whiskey and Words Wednesday. And I wanted to commemorate this day with some Irish poetry. So I am going to read from some of my favorites, and hopefully they are some of yours. Again, my name is Mary Bear Shannon. I'm a reference librarian at the Haverford Township Free Library, and this is Wine and Words Wednesday, St. Patrick's Day edition, because I am actually having my Irish whiskey. We're going to call this Whiskey and Words Wednesday. So, my first poem that I'm going to share with you, I have a whole list of really good Irish poets. This is Thomas Moore, and this poem is The Last Rose of Summer. This is by Thomas Moore. His dates are 1779 to 1852. Thomas Moore. 'Tis the last rose of summer, left blooming alone. All her lovely companions are faded and gone. No flower of her kindred, no rosebud is nigh, to reflect back her blushes, to give sigh for sigh. I'll not leave thee, thou lone one, to pine on the stem. Since the lovely are sleeping, go, sleep thou with them. Thus kindly I scatter thy leaves o'er the bed, where thy mates of the garden lie scentless and dead. So soon may I follow, when friendships decay, and from love's shining circle the gems drop away, when true hearts lie withered and fond ones are flown. Oh, who would inhabit this bleak world alone? And that was The Last Rose of Summer by Thomas Moore. We are celebrating Irish poets today in celebration of St. Patrick's Day. This is Wine and Words Wednesday, and I am sharing some Irish poetry with you to celebrate this day. The next poem I'd like to share is The Fairies by William Allingham. Up the airy mountain, down the rushy glen, we daren't go a-hunting for fear of little men. We folk, good folk, trooping all together, green jacket, red cap, and white owl's feather. Down along the rocky shore, some make their home. They live on crispy pancakes of yellow tide foam. Some in the reeds of the black mountain lake, with frogs with their watchdogs, a night awake. High on the hilltop, the old king sits. He is now so old and gray, he's nigh lost his wits. With the bridge of white mist, Columkill he crosses on his stately journeys from Slieveleague to Rosses, or going up with the music on cold starry nights to sup with the queen of the gay northern lights. They stole with little Bridget for 7 years long. When she came down again, her friends all gone, they look her slightly back between the night and morrow. They thought that she was fast asleep, but she was dead with sorrow. They have kept her ever since, deep within the lake. on a bed of fig leaves, watching till she wake. By the craggy hillside, through the molasses bare, they have planted from trees for my pleasure, here and there. Is any man so daring as dig them up in spite? He shall find their sharpest thorns in his bed at night. Up the airy mountain, down the rushy glen, we daren't go a hunting for fear of little men. We folk, good folk, trooping all together, green jacket, red cap, and white owl's feather. And that was The Fairies by William Ellingham. And we are reading Irish poets today for St. Patrick's Day, and this is Wine and Words Wednesday. So here, he's not really known for his poetry, but he did write some poetry. This is by Oscar Wilde. This is Resquiescat. Tread lightly, she is near. Under the snow, speak gently, she can hear the daisies grow. All her bright golden hair tarnished with rust. She that was young and fair, fallen to dust. Lily-like, white as snow, she hardly knew she was a woman, so sweetly she grew. Coffin board, heavy stone, lie on her breast. I vex my heart alone. She is at rest. Peace, peace she cannot hear. Lyre and sonnet, all my life's buried here. Heap earth upon it. And that was by Oscar Wilde. Again, not known as much for his poetry, but that one is a fairly famous one, Resquiescat. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And this is Wine and Words Wednesday. We are reading Irish poets today to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. So the next one is a poet who actually just passed away in 2020, a more recent poet, and this is her poem, A Hero. He was so foolish, the poor lad. He made superior people smile. Who knew not of the wings he had, budding and growing all the while, nor that the laurel wreath has made already for his curly head. Silly and childish in his ways, they said his future comes to naught. His future, in the dreadful days, when a toil his feet were caught, he hacked his way to glory bright, before his day went down in night. He fretted wiser folk, small blame. Such futile, feeble brains were his. Now we doff hats to hear his name. Ask pardon where his spirit is, because we never guessed him for a hero in the disguise he wore. It matters little how we live, so long as we may greatly die. Fashioned for great things, oh forgive our dullness in the days gone by. Now glory wraps you like a cloak from us and all such common folk. And that was A Hero by Catherine Tynan. And this is Wine and Words Wednesday. I'm actually going to call it Whiskey and Words Wednesday because we are celebrating St. Patrick's Day, and I have some good Irish whiskey. And we are reading some Irish poets. So here's a couple from W.B. Yeats. And here the first one is The Lake Isle of Innisfree. I will rise and go now and go to Innisfree, and a small cabin build there, of clay and wattles made. 9 bean rows will I have there, a hive for the honey bee, and live alone in the bee-loud glade. And I shall have some peace there, for peace comes dropping slow, dropping from the vales of the morning to where the cricket sings. The midnight's all a glimmer, and noon a purple glow, and evenings full of linnet wings. I will rise and go now, for always night and day I hear lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore. While I stand on the roadway on the pavement's gray, I hear it in the deep heart's core. And that was W.B. Yeats. And here is one more by Yeats. This is Easter 1916. I have met them at close of day, coming with vivid faces from counter or desk among gray 18th century houses. I have passed with a nod of the head or polite meaningless words, or have lingered a while and said polite meaningless words, and thought before I had done of a mocking tale or a gibe to please a companion around the fire at the club, being certain that they and I but lived where motley is worn, all changed, changed utterly, a terrible beauty is born. A woman's days were spent in ignorant goodwill, her nights in argument until her voice grew shrill. What voice more sweet than hers, when, young and beautiful, she rode to harriers? This man had kept a school, and rode our winged horse. This other, his helper and friend, was coming into his force. He might have won fame in the end, so sensitive his nature seemed, so daring and sweet his thought. The other man I had dreamed, a drunken, vainglorious lout. He had done most bitter wrong to some who are near my heart, yet I number him in the song. He too has resigned his part in the usual comedy. He too has been charged in his tongue. Transformed utterly, a terrible beauty is born. Hearts with one purpose alone, through summer and winter seem enchanted to stone, to trouble the living stream, the horse that comes from the road, the rider, the birds that range from cloud to tumbling cloud. Minute by minute they change, a shadow of cloud on the stream. Changes minute by minute, a horse hoof slides on the brim, and a horse plashes within it. The long-legged moor-hens dive, and hen to moorcocks call. Minute by minute they live, the stones in the midst of all. Too long a sacrifice can make a stone of the heart. Oh, when may it suffice that is heaven's part, our part, to murmur name upon name, as a mother names her child, when sleep at last has come on limbs that had run wild. What is it but nightfall? No, no, not night, but death. Was it needless death after all? For England may keep faith, for all that is done and said. We know their dream enough to know they dreamed and are dead. And what if excess of love bewildered them till they died? I write it out in a verse, Macdonough and McBride, and Connolly and Pierce, now and in time to be. Wherever green is worn, are changed, changed utterly. A terrible beauty is born. And that was W.B. Yeats, and that was Easter 1916. So we are celebrating some Irish poets today for Wine and Words Wednesday. And here is a poem by Patrick Kavanagh, On an Apple-Ripe September Morning. On an apple-ripe September morning, through the mist-chilled fields I went, with a pitchfork on my shoulder, less for use than for devilment. The threshing mill was set up, I knew, in Cassidy's haggard last night, and we owed them a day in the threshing since last year. Oh, it was a delight to be paying bills of laughter and chaffy gossip in kind, with work thrown into ballast, the fantasy soaring mind. I crossed the wooden bridge, I wondered. As I crossed the wooden bridge, I wondered, as I looked into the drain, if ever a summer morning should find me shoveling up eels again. And I thought of the wasps' nests in the bank, and how I got chased one day, leaving the drag and the scrawl knife behind, how I covered my face with hay. The wet leaves of the cocksfoot polished my boots as I went round by the glistening bog holes, lost in unthinking joy. I'll be carrying bags today, I mused, the best job at the mill, with plenty of time to talk of loves as we wait for the bags to fill. Maybe Mary might call round, and then I came to the haggard gate, and I knew as I entered that I had come through fields that were part of no earthly estate. And that was On an Apple-Ripe September Morning by Patrick Kavanagh. And we are celebrating Irish poets today for St. Patrick's Day on Wine and Words Wednesday. And here is a poem by Seamus Heaney. This is Digging. Between my finger and my thumb, the squat pen rests, snug as a gun. Under my window, a clean, rasping sound when the spade sinks into gravelly ground. My father digging, I look down, till his straining rump among the flower beds bends low, comes up 20 years away, stooping in rhythm through potato drills, where he was digging. The coarse boot nestled on the lug, the shaft against the inside tree was levered firmly. He rooted out tall tops, buried the bright edge deep, to scatter new potatoes that were picked, loving their cool hardness in our hands. By God, the old man could handle a spade, just like his old man. My grandfather cut more turf in a day than any other man on Toner's bog. Once I carried him milk in a bottle, corked sloppily with paper. He straightened up to drink it, then fell to right away, nicking and slicing and neatly heaving sods over his shoulder, going down and down for the good turf, digging. The cold smell of potato mold, the squelch and slap of soggy peat, the curt cuts of an edge through living roots awaken in my head, but I've no spade to follow men like them. Between my finger and my thumb, the squat pen rests. I'll dig with it. And that was Digging by Seamus Heaney. And here is a poem by Evan Boland, who actually just passed away this year. And the poem is entitled Heroic. Sex and history and skin and bone and the oppression of Sunday afternoon. Bells called the faithful to devotion. I was still at school and on my own, and walked and sheltered from the rain. The patriot was made of drenched stone. His lips were still speaking. The gun he held had just killed someone. I looked up and looked at him again. He stared past me without recognition. I moved my lips and wondered how the rain would taste if my tongue were made of stone, and wished it was, and whispered so that no one could hear it but him. Make me a heroine. And then, again, someone who is not as well known for poetry, here is a poem by James Joyce. And it's entitled, She Weeps Over Rahoon. Rain on Rahoon falls softly, softly falling, where my dark lover lies. Sad is his voice, and calls me sadly calling, a gray moonrise. Love, hear thou, how soft, how sad his voice is ever calling, ever unanswered, and the dark rain falling, then as now. Dark too are our hearts, O love, shall lie and cold as his sad heart has lain. Under the moon-gray nettles, the black mold, and muttering rain. And that was by James Joyce. And then by Eileen Carney Holm. This is called Belonging. We never really slept, just buried clocks in the sanctuary of night. Every time I moved, you moved with me. Winged eyelashes on your cheek returns a kiss. Small spaces of silence in between borrowed breaths. Arms tighten at the whisper of a name, all the words of the heart. The unanswered questions are at the moment blue rolling waves. Tonight our souls rest, fragrant in spiritual essence, candle flamed, undamaged, utterly belonging. And that was Belonging by Eileen Carney Holm. And then lastly, for our Wine and Words Wednesday, our St. Patrick's Day edition, is the poem Dublin by Lewis MacNeice. Gray brick upon brick, declamatory bronze, on somber pedestals, O'Connell, Grattan, Moore, and the brewery tugs and the swans on the balustrated stream, and the bare bones of a fanlight over a hungry door, and the air soft on the cheek, and porter running from the taps, with the head of yellow cream, and Nelson on his pillar, watching his world collapse. This never was my town. I was not born or bred, nor schooled here, and she will not have me alive or dead. But yet she holds my mind with her seedy elegance, with her gentle veils of rain, and all her ghosts that walk, and all that hide behind her Georgian facades. The catcalls and the pain, the glamour of her squalor, the bravado of her talk. The lights jig in the river with a concertina movement, and the sun comes up in the morning like barley sugar on the water, and the mist of the Wicklow Hills is close as the peasantry where to be landlord, and as the Irish to the Anglo-Irish, as the killer is close one moment to the man he kills, or as the moment itself is close to the next moment. She is not an Irish town. She is not English, historic with guns and vermin, and the cold renown of a fragment of church Latin, of an oratorical phrase. But oh, the days were soft, soft enough to forget. The lesson better learnt, the bullet on the wet. Streets, the crooked deal, the steel behind the laugh, the four courts burnt. Fort of the Dane, garrison of the Saxon, Augustan capital of a Gaelic nation, appropriating all the alien brought, You give me time for thought and my juggler's trick. You poise the toppling hour. O grayness run to flower, gray stone, gray water, and brick upon gray brick. And that was Dublin, and the author and the poet is Lewis McNeice. So those are my poems for celebrating St. Patrick's Day. This is Wine and Words Wednesday. Again, my name is Mary Bear Shannon. I'm a reference librarian at the Haverford Township Free Library, and I hope you have a great St. Patrick's Day. Take care.